When it comes to doing a very simple assessment on where you are with your business, you don't really need to have to ask anybody. It all boils down to two simple questions that you need to ask yourself. And that is, how many people are in your total database? Number one. Number two, how many of those people that are in your database have an estimated transaction date in the future based on a core motivation, and that you are aware of what that person's needs and wants are relative to some future date. Why are these two questions the key to doing a self-assessment? Well, it's simple. If we know that 6 or 5 or 10% of your database is going to transact this next 12-month period of time, how many of those people remember who you are and they like you, and when it comes time for them to transact, they're going to transact? And then, are you aware of those people and those time frames based on core motivation? So let's take the first question first, and that is, how many people are actually in your database? Now, a lot of us, we start putting people in our database, and then we immediately think, well, I'm not going to contact that person because I think their brother-in-law is a realtor, and why would I bother? And, I don't get along so well with that person. We had an argument in the 3rd grade. So what we do sometimes is we start disqualifying the people that we have met in our past because we want to avoid them. But here's the simple truth. If, in fact, as a rule of thumb, 6% of my database is going to transact year over year, I have a question for you. How many people do you want in your database? And the answer is more. Because let's say you only have 100 people in your database, which gives you maybe six or 7 possible transactions. And let's say you're just a machine and you can close 50% of those people. You know that you've got a good enough relationship with them that you're going to close half of that number year over year. Well, great. That gives you 3 transactions. If you're satisfied with 3 transactions per year, then that's fine. But I don't know how you're going to make a really substantial, consistent living on 3 deals. So the number in your database is going to have to grow. It's going to have to grow, and you're going to have to add people to that number. Now, another thing that happens over time is that there's this little thing called attrition, and so it's estimated that the quality of your database, although it gets better because you have long-term communication with more people over a longer period of time, there's a certain number of those people that are just going to be taken out of the market altogether. So unfortunately, they might die, or they might move into their home and they're never going to move out of it ever again. They're not in that place where they're buying and selling. Maybe they just moved out of the area and it's not convenient for you to stay in a transaction with them. But please don't neglect these people that you perceive to be falling out of your database. Just because they move out of the area doesn't mean that they wouldn't be able to give you a referral in a location where you're currently doing most of your business. So you want to be able to just make sure you're staying in touch with everybody on your database. So how many people are actually in your database? How many people do you know on the planet, period? So don't start saying, well, I'm not going to put this person on the list and this person on the list, because the truth of the matter is everybody on your list is going to live someplace, and they also know other people who are going to live places. And if they know you and they like you and they see you as professional and you've got reasonable marketing skills and reasonable presentation skills, you're going to be able to stay at your top of mind awareness. And unless you're there, you're never going to get to that next place. Your database is shrinking 10% per year, which means I need you to add people to your database. Now, there's all types of core methods for prospecting and adding people to your database. That's not what this video is about. This is about a quick snapshot. How many people do you actually have on your database? Question number 1. Okay, the second question is the tricky question. That is, how many of those people in your database are going to transact in the next 12 months or in the next year or 2 years, however long they're going to transact. And when they transact, are they going to remember who you are? So this comes back to a relationship. Are you in enough of a relationship with the people in your database that they're going to remember you and select you when it comes time to transact? This is all about marketing, and this is all about you staying relevant in these people's lives. Relevant. So your marketing and your communication has to inspire this person to make you memorable. I don't want you to beat up your database by just flooding them with all sorts of baloney all the time, because that might get fatigue, right? They might be like, oh my God, this person keeps spamming me. I don't want to deal with them. You need to be able to establish your own personal rhythm and your own follow-up with How frequently do I need to follow up with this person? Now, we're not going to go through the 15 methods of doing that in this video, but it's all about how many people do I have with a date. I can validate your data very, very quickly, particularly if you're a simple spreadsheet user, or gosh, maybe even if you're using a CRM like KV Core or one of the others out there. And that is, how many people do you have with a date that's estimated in the future? And if I were to go ahead and run a report of these people that you have in your database, how many of those people don't have a last name? What? So you've got a first name and a telephone number because you downloaded this out of your telephone 2 years ago and you put it in your CRM, and I got Bill and I got a phone number. Are you in enough of a relationship with Bill and a phone number to get into a transaction? Well, probably not. So I can easily validate the quality of your relationships by simply looking at what fields do you have that are not completely filled in your database. You might say have met Bill at the gym, or maybe it's a spin class, or like wherever you met in a line at Starbucks. I don't care where you met Bill. Do you know where he lives? Does he own property? And does he see you as a professional in so much as he would reach out to you when it comes time for you to transact? If I look at your database and it's got what I call Swiss cheese in it, and that is we export your data into an Excel document, and I got no last name, I got no home address, I have a phone number but no email, I got an email and a first name, and I follow these people on Facebook, I send them an instant message. Like, how many of these people in your database have full contact information, and you got that contact information not by like creeping around on the internet to find it, but you know these people. I know them because I sold them a house 3-4 years ago. I know exactly where they live. I know their names. I have their complete contact information. And because I transacted with them in the past, for gosh sakes, I'm probably in enough of a relationship to transact with them again or ask them for a referral. There's going to be a lot of people in your database that you don't have complete information on. I want you to focus every day for at least an hour when you're prospecting. How do I fill in these gaps? How do I fill in these gaps? How do I fill in these gaps? Some people are going to want to get information from you, but they're not going to just spring off the page and land on your dinner plate. If you notice, there's not a lot of people going to your website and filling out the registration card because it's all passive. You have to make an active, conscious effort to reach out to the people in your database and start filling in that Swiss cheese. Here's the takeaway assignment if you want to play, and that is, I want two numbers. I want the number of people that are in your database, and I want the total number of people you know that are in your database that are going to do something in the future with a transaction, and you know why, and you know about when, right? Well, probably next summer, maybe in September, maybe over there, maybe in June, right? So how many people do you have in your database, and how many people do you know that have an answer? Now, if you can't give me a clear answer on that, here's the issue. The issue is, don't worry about justifying this to me. This is a problem that you need to work on. If you don't know where your future paycheck is coming from, I bet you could be pretty dang nervous about your overall business. If you need help with this, for goodness sakes, please go and book 15 minutes on my calendar. I'd love to walk you through a very simple exercise on how do you measure the total number and what is the quality of your database. Get on my calendar. I look forward to helping you in any way that I can.